Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to do a trailer breakdown for the new, I believe it is described as a thriller, but it looks a bit more like a horror movie, called Underwater, starring Kristen Stewart and TJ Miller, and a whole host of other no names. But here's the thing, is that this is a very interesting case in terms of where these actors are at, because I have a feeling this film was made a few years ago, like maybe 2018, 2017, something like that, because we have Kristen Stewart. We know that she's going to be in the Charlie's Angels reboot, which is going to be coming out next year as well. And we also know that TJ Miller has kind of been blacklisted ever since his hashtag #MeToo run-in. So it's kind of interesting to see both of them in this movie, just based off of those two factors. So this might have been something that was shelved a few years back. The release date is also fairly suspect, where it's getting released on January 10th of next year. And usually January is reserved for either Oscar bait or cesspool horror movies. And it's kind of interesting considering that this looks to have at least some amount of a budget. It doesn't look very cheesy. It's not, a sequel. It's not like a Texas Chainsaw ripoff or something. This seems like it actually had some kind of a budget. So it's very interesting. But let's dive into the trailer itself, and we kind of start off on a light tone, again, like you do with a lot of horror movies. We kind of introduce some of the characters that are running through. Kristen Stewart is front and center for the most part. T.J. Miller has a few lines in there as well in the early parts, and he kind of cements himself as the comic relief character almost, which makes sense considering it's T.J. Miller. And Kristen Stewart seems like she's going to be the main focus. She feels kind of like, I don't know if they were deliberately going for this look, but the look that they gave her reminds me a lot of Sigourney Weaver from Alien 3. And it might just be because she has the shaved head, but it's just, I don't know. For some reason, I'm getting those kind of vibes here. It's very claustrophobic and stuff like that. Again, kind of like that movie, even though it's underwater as opposed to this prison planet place. But we go through this. We learn that they're going to the bottom of the ocean. I believe the line that they use is 5,000 miles away from any landmass and 7 miles down into the ocean, which I would assume would mean they're going into the Marianas Trench. Again, they don't really specify some of that, but I'm pretty sure that's the only place in the ocean that goes down that deep. And they claim that they're on some kind of a rig, and they mention something about drilling. So I'm assuming this has something to do, maybe it's an oil rig or something like that, some kind of new thing where they're drilling or maybe drilling for minerals or something way down deep in the ocean. The only thing I kind of hope is they don't hammer it over the head with the ecological message, because that's ruined movies in the past. You can see that with the remake of How the Earth Stood Still in other films as well. But going past that, then we get into kind of the meat of the trailer, which is we start off with this big, what looks to be some kind of catastrophic failure with the drilling rig, where water just starts exploding in and the hull starts to cave in and stuff. Now, it might be from the pressure, or it might be from something else. They claim that they drilled into the ocean floor and something came up. And this reminds me a bit, there was a lot of movies in the late 80s and kind of the early 90s that dealt with this kind of subject. Deep Star 6, Leviathan, probably the most famous one is James Cameron's The Abyss. Kind of the idea of, alien life down in the ocean, or, not like extraterrestrial necessarily, but alien to us. And I'm curious because, the movie Leviathan actually did it fairly well. Deep Star 6 was basically just a ripoff, and The Abyss, again, was kind of, it's hit or miss with me, even though I really do like the film. But it's an interesting kind of comparison. But this feels a lot like those type of films. And then we move forward to, like, okay, we have a lot of quick cuts after that, where it's showing like they're trying to get the rig up and running, or they're trying to escape. There's a scene where they have to go out onto the ocean floor in these high pressure suits, and that's also something that's very curious to me. Where I understand the idea that okay, we want this very tense moment where they got to go out and do stuff, and it's kind of like they're kind of taking the idea from space movies and stuff like that where they have to do similar things. But you're 7 miles below the surface of the water. The pressures you're experiencing down there would crush you like a soup can. So I don't necessarily know. They'll probably have some kind of a MacGuffin or something like that for the movie that explains it away. But it just seems a little odd to me that they don't just immediately walk out of this. They don't like go into a pressure chamber and then just immediately die. Especially since they're switching from what we can assume is a normal human pressure inside the ship to God knows how many atmospheres of pressure outside the ship. So that's a little bit interesting to me. I figured, I figure they'll play something up where they'll say, oh, these suits are rated for whatever, they're experimental or something. And this looks like it's somewhat futuristic. Again, I don't know how futuristic it is, but it is obviously science fiction. But they show them going out, and they show Kristen Stewart gets grabbed by one of these, crawler-looking things. They don't really show any of the quote-unquote monsters in the actual trailer. We get little glimpses here and there. In that scene where Kristen Stewart gets dragged, we get a little scene of it. We get another scene of it where it's walking over what looks like a blown-out bulkhead or something. We move through that, and really that's the majority of the trailer is we just see all this stuff, and then at the end of it, T.J. Miller has a line, "It's pulling me underwater," which is, the title of the movie. So that's kind of obvious. But, overall, this kind of feels like something we've seen before. It has a new fresh coat of paint on it because it's in nice HD, and you got different characters and stuff like that. So you have the advanced effects now. But aside from that, this feels like something we've seen before with The Abyss, with Deep Star 6, with Leviathan. It was a common trope or a common premise in films of that late 80s era, where we saw that type of storyline where this monster comes up from the bottom of the ocean and starts killing people in this underground or this underwater facility and stuff like that. So again, nothing really wowed me. It looks like it could possibly be a solid movie. Kristen Stewart doesn't look like she's hamming it up too much. He looks like she's doing a relatively good job. T.J. Miller, I do enjoy his acting. At least in this movie, he seems like he'll be kind of funny. Hopefully, they don't kill him off 10 minutes in like they did in Transformers: Age of Extinction. But only time will tell. But I want to know what you think about this trailer. Are you a fan of movies of this type? Oh, actually, sorry. Before I even get to that, the other thing that kind of concerns me about this is it's rated PG-13. That's not good if you're going with a horror vibe. I'm sorry. If you're going with a good horror movie, it should be rated R. It should 100% be rated R. And if you get a PG-13 rating back, you should film more scenes that make it rated R. So that's another question mark for this, in addition to the release date. But I apologize. We're going to skip ahead now. So if you have any comments on this, make sure to put them below. Any thoughts on the trailer or anything like that. As usual, I will link the trailer below if you would like to watch it. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications, subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?